before starting, let me know the assignment I've given in the last class about trying with the dependency injection and trying with the chat feature. How many have you tried it? Let me see these things. How many of you tried it? Okay. Shiva, Tulika, what's the update? ये बताओ भाई. Hello Shiva, Tulika, am I audible? Okay. Shiva have tried, but he is stuck with some things. Tulika, why are you are not trying from past 1 week with the assignment? Are you in your nani ghar enjoying the vacation?
सर यहाँ थोड़े फंक्शंस चल रहे थे उसमें बिजी हो गई थी।
शादी वादी?
नहीं सर दीक्षा का प्रोग्राम है।
दीक्षा तुम्हारी फ्रेंड?
ये सर
ठीक है, पर ऐसा मत करो. ट्राई टू at least take 1 or 2 hours a day. Okay. uh, okay. uh, but still I will recommend ki don't waste those valuable days. Okay. uh, okay, cool. Let's move forward. Okay. So we are coming to the fifth week. Okay. Where we gonna learn about the databases in Android. Okay. But before jumping direct to implementing database in Android, we gonna learn about little bit of SQL. Okay. Now the thing is ki why we are learning SQL, like what is the purpose? Okay. uh, According to my understanding, in majority of the app that you will be building, can be cases that you will never use the room database. Okay. But uh, as you move forward and the complexity increases, the app increases, download increases, the data increases, eventually you have to implement the room db to cache some data over your app in case the network is not available. Okay. But offline first Android app. Okay. I will highly encourage you all to give this a read. Okay. Agar if you give it a read and understand these things properly na, then you can build a very high quality apps, even though the requirement is not that in your application. Okay. In a very small scale, but having a base understanding of it and a habit of implementing it, eventually when the data gets bigger and complex, the things will get very smooth and very easy to implement. Okay. So moving forward, the other thing is like uh, Android developer is not just like building the UIs. Okay. Taking the data from the server and showing it to the UI. There are many things Android developer does, which eventually help uh, them in future to become a good software engineer. Okay. Few of the things are like databases, network request. Okay. Implementing some data structures. Okay. Gradle issues. Okay. Playing with the JVM and internals. Have asynchronous programming knowledge. Okay. So it's a mixture of many things that we learn throughout our graduation. Okay. And applying all that in our app to build a very high quality application for our user. Okay. So I'll recommend you all to give a read about it, then you will understand what I meant over this point. Okay. Now how many of you have heard of SQL? Okay, many of you. How many of you have eventually used SQL? Like have written few statements or build few things using SQL? Cool. So, for those who have done it, there it will be like a brush up. Okay, the whole exercise of learning SQL only or databases only for today is so that tomorrow when we're gonna implement it in Android, the terms will be different, but the concept will be the same. Okay, so to understand those concepts, we are just refreshing our knowledge. Okay, keeping it very simple, just to brush up for people who have done it, and for learning part who haven't tried SQL yet. Okay, and it's not a problem. Okay, so when I was learning Room database, I eventually jumped into the database, and I was very confused how things were working. So I thought to keep SQL as part of this course, very little bit of it, so that we can uh, uh, cover major use case in our Android applications. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay. Hmm. Cool. So today's context is we're gonna learn how to create DB, do few CRUD operations on it. Okay, understand about primary key, foreign key, and we're gonna learn how we can join different tables to eventually get the data that we need. Okay, so cool. Can anybody tell me what is SQL? Is it a database? What do you understand by SQL? Is SQL and database the equal?
SQL is structured query language for manipulating the database.
Correct, correct. So SQL is used to manipulate data in over the database. I think we can say that. Cool, cool. So database is something different. SQL is something different. Okay. SQL is a query language that we use to manipulate data in our database. Okay. Now, can anybody tell me different between a relational database and basically a SQL database and no SQL database? I think we learned that over the Firebase session. So anyone want to give a summary of it? Relation has direct relation with entities, but that is equal in no SQL as well. If no SQL have a relation with the entity, it is also a direct relation with the entity.
In DBMS, we'll be dealing with tables, whereas in NoSQL, it's like a document, like a JSON file format,
Correct,
with
correct,
dictionaries and keys.
correct. I think Darshini coming from a Python background.
Yes, sir. I know Python also.
Okay, nice, cool. So, uh, previously when we were learning NoSQL, okay, we were generally dealing with the data which was somehow in the format of a tree, or we can say a JSON format. Okay, with collections and documents. Okay, something like this. Okay, where the uh, where the problem was that in cases if we wanted a thing to be related to another entity, we generally have to copy that data and attach to the document where we want it. Okay, so let us consider scenario that if you have a user document, user collection, and you want it somehow to attach to a order. Generally, what we have to do, we have to take all the required data that we need from the user, and generally copy it here with the document. Okay, and it was in the JSON format, like a tree format that goes down and keep on adding data over it. Okay, but in our SQL or in our generally enterprise level stuff, what we do, we generally keep all the data inside a table. Okay, inside a table means we divide into columns of what property or entity we wanted to hold. Okay, and in the rows we generally hold our data. Okay, with some ID. Okay, and if a requirement comes that we wanted to associate that data with another data. Okay, we can generally combine them in order to get a data. Okay, so if I need to assign this row value with a different row value, I can generally connect them via ID. Okay, so in this case what we do, we generally reuse the data. Okay, we generally uh, do that, we don't repeat data basically. Okay, so we generally reuse the data, use that, update that, and uh, keep increasing our database with the entries having a relation between each of them. Okay, generally it means that uh, based on the requirement, if it required to have a relation, we can easily do that. So, and we can connect various tables in order to maintain the data without repeating the stuff. Okay, so one of the ways of scaling data in a million billions records. Okay, it has been proven and it is still working fine in the industry. Okay, so in our Android project, if there are libraries where you can hold things in SQL also and no SQL also. Okay, based on your requirement. Generally, what Android team does, they have provided us the room library. Okay, the room library, which generally is an abstraction over the SQL databases. Okay, so we're gonna understand it more, but we'll see this working with some commands. Okay, now coming next. Cool. So now, how generally a SQL works. Okay, though I have already shared you, but let me give you an overview with this little image that we have. Okay, so consider that uh, in our SQL databases, what we generally have a database. Okay, here a database is this drawer. Okay, and generally the tables represent those documents. Okay, uh, considering that it has a multiple kind of data, not similar. Okay, or you can say that the first drawer is a table, the second drawer is a different table. Okay, now a database can have multiple tables. Okay, multiple tables that can hold different value. They can be related and or cannot be related. It's totally depend upon your use case. Okay, each table have their respective entities, respective properties where we can save our data. Okay, so a database consists of tables. They can have a relation or don't have relation, but generally we store all our data in the form of entities over a table in a row fashion. manner. Okay, so let's create a table. Okay, again, I'm using this workbench. Okay, let me clear this. I'm using this MySQL workbench. You can also download it. Okay, you can also download it from their website. Generally it will be not required at your use case. I've only built installed this workbench just to try some backend stuff, and for this tutorial basis only. Okay, so if you require to practice MySQL, you can download it, else eventually we're gonna practice in our Android Studio. Okay, so Android Studio have a database inspector which have some layouts which gives us functionality to work with basic databases and uh, basically inspect it. Okay, so let's create a database. Okay, so the command for creating a database is create database. Okay, this is the functionality and this is what we wanted to do upon. Okay, and we're gonna name it as like burger shop. Okay, we can give it any name you want. Okay, so for example, let us see, if you are storing a profile of a user in your database, you can generally keep it with the name of profiles. Okay, you can basically give any name. It can be like this, it can be like this. Okay, so based upon how you write it. So I'm just gonna do this. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, take it here, take it like here. Okay, so this is how generally we create a database. Okay, so you can see a database has been created successfully. If I refresh over here, you can see the database is showing us a few options that we can have a look upon. Okay, like tables, functions, and respective things. But for time being, we gonna only focus upon the tables and the stuff that we needed in order to start with Android SQL database implementation. Okay, so let me know if you all understand how to create a database in SQL, or till now are we all clear what is SQL, what is database, what is table? Cool. Okay, now हमने टेबल बना लिया, right? To now to insert some data over that, sorry, हमने db बना लिया. Now that db gonna hold some tables, and the table will gonna hold some data for us. Okay, so now we are going to create a table. Okay, now burger shop will generally will gonna have a menu. Okay, so we gonna create a table, create table. Okay, the name of the table, let's say menu. Okay, and the entity or the property that this menu table gonna hold. Okay, so मेनू में क्या क्या हो सकता है, मेनू में बताओ. Okay, I'll give some hints. Menu में let's say we have a name of the item that this menu holds. Okay, so the name will be of type string. Okay, अगर मैं ऐसा दूं, so in order, like in our Kotlin, if we have to define a string, we generally used to do like name colon string. Okay, but if we wanted to do in MySQL, you in SQL we have to do name varchar. Okay, and the limit it gonna hold, let's say give it 50. Okay, it's the name. Okay, the price of the item, okay, it gonna be in decimal. Okay, uh decimal in the sense like it can be 150.50 or something like that. Okay, so in order to hold some float or long value, we generally use the decimal type. Okay, now it can be veg non-veg, so basically I will keep it type. Okay, and in order to hold booleans we generally use int only. Okay, if int is equal to 0, then false, 1 is equal to true. Okay, if I think that's pretty much it. The name, the price, and what type it holds. Okay, so I will just use this. Okay, okay, so this is generally how we can create a table in a SQL. Okay, but before that let me do this. Set this burger shop database as the default schema. Okay, let me create a table and then select everything from menu. Okay, in order to see what value it holds. Okay, अगर मैं ये चीज नहीं लिखता हूँ, let me remove it, let me execute this line. You can see we are getting a success action that a table has been created. Okay, now I'm gonna delete it and put it this. Okay, so what I'm doing here, from the menu table I'm saying select everything. Okay, the stars represent asterisk represent everything from the menu table. Okay, so if I'm gonna execute this, what should be the output? क्या हमें कुछ डेटा दिखेगा? Okay, Harsh is saying burger pizza. Okay, uh, I think उस टाइम का जब I was asking the question. Cool, Harsh. Okay, so if I execute this, okay, not by enter, by this, okay, you can see that we are able to see the table with the columns only. Okay, which is representing that what is the array, which is representing what we have just defined right now, right? The name, the price, and the type. Okay, if I refresh it here, okay, you can see the burger shop is now representing tables, and the tables, we have a menu table. Okay, now menu table have various columns. Okay, and it is been represented here. Okay, so because we have selected everything from menu, but menu doesn't contain anything, we are not getting any output. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna insert few things into our menu table, then we're gonna inflate the output. Okay, so in order to insert, what we have to do, insert into menu. Okay, and uh, menu values. Okay, is it value or values? Let us see. Acha, I'm not that familiar with the SQL queries myself itself, but no problem. Okay, so I wanted to add few values to my database or to my menu table. Okay, so as Harsh was saying, let's add burger and pizza to our menu. Okay, so the name of the item at the menu will be, let's say, cheese lava. Okay, let's say we are building a burger shop database for MACD around at your area. Okay, the price, it's I think we defined it as a decimal, right? So the price will be, let's say, 250 rupees. Okay, the type is veg. Okay, so I'm gonna give it 0. Okay, now let's add more. Let's add Mexican cheese. Okay, the amount is, let's say, 150, and the type is again veg. Okay, McD doesn't have a pizza, so let's add more. Let's say aloo tikki. Okay, the again the price is, let's say, 75 rupees. Again this. Okay, now let's say we also have soft drinks. Okay, which is of type, uh, value of, let's say, 50, of type 0 again. Okay, sorry, I'm coming from a veg background. I generally don't know the names of non-veg things, but as per your database, you can always inflate whatever you like. Now also add some fries. Okay, which is, let's say, 35 rupees based on this. Okay, so this is generally how we insert values to our database by following those query. Okay, so if I run it, you can see I'm getting a success response that values has been inserted into menu table. Okay, if I go here and if I do select row of limit 10,000, if I execute this command, okay, basically selecting everything from the menu table, you can see that some data has been added here, right? So this is generally we how insert data into our database. Cool, let me know, हमें बेसिक चीज समझ में आई कि a database contains table, and creating tables generally don't means that it have gonna value. हम जब टेबल बनाते हैं तो हमें उसको वैल्यूज बाद में असाइन करना पड़ता है. ओके, the values that we assigned is called like entities that we wanted to hold. Okay, it create a column for that table, and in the form of rows we generally hold the respective item. Okay, so cheese lava is not 150, cheese lava is 250 rupees of type 0. Okay, so let me know if this makes sense. Are we in the same page? Cool, cool. So till now we have learned how to create a database, how to create table, and insert some values over the table. Okay, okay, cool. So in the basic operations, what we have done till now was to create it, basically insert it. Okay, basically we have, when we do select from all, we have also doing the read part. Okay, but let's also see how we can update values in our database. Okay, so let's go to here. We're gonna do update. Okay, uh, update menu in the menu table. Okay, set, uh, let's say we wanted to update this price to some other value. Okay, so we can do set, what was the name, price. Okay, price. Okay, equal to, let's say, 45 instead of 35. Okay, where name is equal to uh, price. Okay, cool. So we're gonna execute it. You are using safe option. Acha. So generally this SQL workbench generally says that if you wanted to update, delete, or do some alterations on the table, you have to generally enable some settings. No worries, what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a look into the update and delete CRUD options once we go through the primary key uh, topic. Okay, but just with the code you can see if I divide it into parts, you can see I'm doing the update functionality on menu table, where I'm checking, where I'm taking price property, updating it with a value, new value. Okay, but if I don't provide the name of what item I wanted to update, what it generally do, वो सबका प्राइस 45 कर देगा, राइट? मतलब जस्ट अ सेकेंड, अगर मैं ये वाला कोड एग्जीक्यूट कर दूं जहां मैं उसको जनरली बताऊं नहीं कि किसका अपडेट करना है, इफ आई जनरली डोंट प्रोवाइड और व्हाट वैल्यूज आई वांटेड टू अपडेट, अगर मैं सिर्फ इतना एग्जीक्यूट कर दूं, दिस टू लाइंस इट गोना अपडेट द वैल्यूज ऑफ ऑल द आइटम्स टू 45 that we generally don't want. Okay, so we generally use this where clause, and in the where we give a property of what we wanted to update. Okay, but generally playing with the property is too risky. There can be a scenario where a fries will be normal fries, fries will be peri peri fries, and it can have multiple common name, right? So instead of this, generally when we wanted to update, we used to update based on the id. Okay, so uh, but this we gonna cover this id part in a minute. But what I wanted to explain you that if you wanted to update any property of a respective table, always use this where clause and provide which item you wanted to update. Okay, so I hope this small query you are all able to understand. Let me know. Cool. Okay, this is very straightforward. Nothing, any complex things. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so hmm, so we're gonna see the update and delete part in just a minute. Okay, don't worry about that. Let's move forward and learn about some operators in our SQL. Okay, uh, as per any programming language, we have arithmetic operator, comparison operators, and logical operators. We generally also have that in SQL as well. Okay, so let's have a look into that as well. Cool. So let's take this, remove other tabs. Okay, uh, let's add few more things in order to do some queries. Okay, so I'm gonna do insert into menu, where values gonna be this. Okay, so let's say we have uh, uh, I'm not sure, chicken burger. Okay, have some values of, let's say, 300 rupees. Okay, and is of type 1. Okay, now let's add few more. Okay, uh, coffee. Okay, let's say we have coffee of, let's say, 120 rupees. Okay, of type 0. Okay, something like this. So let's insert this as well. Okay, and once inserted, let's do select everything from menu and have a look. Okay, now you can see the type, we have a menu item which have a type of 1. Okay, and you can see as we have added few items afterwards, those are being joined at the bottom of the table. Okay, but let's say you wanted to order them, what we can do, select from menu, okay, order by, okay, price, okay, in ascending order. Okay, as simple as that, like how we write simple English statements or sentence, it is generally like this. Okay, so what we are saying, select everything from menu, where we are ordering the table on the basis of price in the ascending order. Okay, so if I execute this, you can see that everything is been assigned based on that. Okay, so generally this is how you can do the orders, basically rearrange your table using this order by clause. Okay, let me know if it is clear till here. Cool. Now what we can do, uh, let's add more data to our database, so that we can have a variety of checks and operation operator that we can use in order to have a better understanding of the operators. Okay, generally what is happening, we have like limited data. Let's add few things, join those data, and try to use some logical operators, or basically SQL operators, in order to understand them better. Okay, we gonna come back to those things in a minute. Okay, now generally what happens with this approach that I shared earlier, having things based on a name will leads to complication if the database get increasing with the new data. Okay, new tables been introducing, and many common things have been there that we want to track. Okay, so like how we generally have a ID for each person. Okay, what we can do, we can do similarly thing for our database tables as well. Okay, so let me do one thing, let me delete this menu table and create it again on the basis of ID as well. Okay, so if I do this, you can see the table has been dropped and there is no table in the database right now. Okay, so generally how we have a ID for each person in our country, that is our Aadhaar card, driving license, or some PAN card, any ID. Okay, we gonna give ID to each and respective item of a table using the primary key. Okay, so I'm gonna create a table again, create table. Okay, of type menu, let's give it small cases. Okay, and now menu is going to have an id of type int. Okay, and this id is a primary key. Okay, so primary key in the sense that whenever we wanted to do fetching, reading, update, or delete of any respective item, we gonna do on the basis of this primary key. Okay, अब इसमें एक प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? If we keep on giving keys, जैसे let's try to see a scenario. You are like CM of your state. Okay, and government have told you, the central government, to assign Aadhaar card numbers to every people being at your state. Okay, now you've been generous, you thought, okay, I'm the CM, I should be given the first number, 000001. there might be a possibility that it might be have taken by other person or not a valid number. Okay, so we generally wanted to assign or delegate this task of giving an id to an system. Okay, so the central government will say that this is the system, take some data from it, and the system will assign the type of unique id will be integer. Okay, so the government will assign the respective state with a system that take these values, the system will gonna generate the id for them automatically. Okay, so what we gonna do, we gonna uh, tell the system to create the primary key for us automatically. So we're gonna say auto increment. Okay, something like this. Okay, now our menu table have a id which is a way to recognize an item. Okay, through an value which is auto generated by the uh, sql databases. Okay, so these features come with this MySQL Workbench DBMS system, and this system generates the ID for me. Okay, so we're gonna have a look into that in a minute. Okay, so a menu now have an ID. So if a customer comes with uh, yeah, it Harsh, the primary key is a unique ID for each item in a respective table. Okay, so just be with me. We're gonna see implementation of it in a minute. Okay, when we create two tables and provide the IDs respectively. Okay. So what I was saying, so I was saying, uh, now menu have an id. Okay, if you as a customer go to cashier and say that I wanted to have a cheeseburger, so the cashier will gonna select the cheeseburger item from its tablet. In the background the cheeseburger will be having an id. Okay, and the table, the transaction whatever been happening will be taking the amount from the id, totaling it up, and sending it to the transaction table. Okay, so instead of giving it cheeseburger cheeseburger cheeseburger, fries fries fries, what now we deal with the id. Okay, cool. So here is the id. Else what we gonna have, we gonna have name of varchar again. Let's say 50 should be the uh, I think enough for giving a name to a menu item. The price will be of decimal. Okay, so that we can hold some precision values as well. Okay, the type again will be an integer. Okay, what we can also have, we can also have offers. Okay, if an item generally have a offers available or not. Okay, but uh, I would also like to add one more thing, that जैसे हम Kotlin में क्या करते थे कि if we defined a property, we defined a type. Okay, and if needed we can also define the default value, right? So we can generally also do that in SQL with this thing. Okay, so generally if you go to any restaurant, any cafe, they generally provide you a tissue for free. Okay, with some value. Okay, so let's say the default of it is 0. uh, Let it be decimal of 2 precision. Okay, 0.01. Okay, let's say that uh, I still need to understand the syntax of it. Okay, okay. So if you wanted to give a default value to your item, you can use this default keyword. Okay. Now till here we are just creating a database. Okay. So if I hit run, okay, you can see the table has been created. Okay. Now if I refresh the database, you can see we have created a menu. Okay. Now it generally have a column, okay, with the id. Okay, so let's populate that. Okay, now here will be something new. Insert into menu. Okay, now we don't want to insert the value for everything. Okay, क्योंकि मेरे को पता है id की वैल्यू विल बी गिवन बाय द सिस्टम एंड टीशू is already having a default value. Okay, so now I just wanted to populate the data with only those things, that will be name, price, type, offers. Okay, okay, it will be values. Okay, something like this. Okay, let's take four things. The name will be again uh, cheese lava. Okay, the price will be, let's say, 250 rupees. The type is veg. The offers, yes, few offers are being available. Okay, the another will be Mexican. Okay, burger. Okay, the amount will be, let's say, 150. Type is 0, offer is not available. Okay, we take peri peri fries. Okay, uh, let it be like this. Okay, it's around 75 rupees, let's say. Type is 0, offer is available. Okay, we gonna take soft drink. Price will be, let's say, 65. Type 0, offers not available. Okay, okay, now let's see it working. Let me write this. Select everything from menu. Okay, cool. आप देखो what happened been here. uh, I hope this table is visible. uh, oh, ah, table, if I can zoom it somehow. Let me know if my this table is visible or not, this small
Yes.
table. Cool. Okay, so you can see मैंने जो टिश्यू का जो डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू दिया था 0.10. ओके, इट्स बीन पॉपुलेटेड हियर, मेरे को यहाँ देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. ऑल्सो द प्राइमरी की is been populated automatically. Okay, and been assigned in an order. Okay, so this id is being given by the system, and we are identifying the item on the base of id now. Okay, ये चीजें क्लियर हुई, द प्राइमरी आईडी एंड द डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू. कूल कूल कूल. ओके, let's move forward. Okay, now the whole point of adding a primary key was that कि हम उसको आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए इजिली, एंड उस आईडी को यूज करके हम किसी और टेबल में उसको जनरली ऐड करके एक रिलेशन बना पाए. ओके. So for example, we have a department, okay, which have an employee ID, okay, department table and an employee table. Okay. If we have given an employee name, and if we wanted to relate it with an generally the name is opposite, but you got the point. Generally, let's say if I wanted to create a relation with the Srishti, with the department it's been working on, what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna create a table and populate the data over here, right? I'm gonna just define the key, okay, with the data it is associated with that. Okay. So, Srishti is being from the HR department, which is from the Delhi location. So, instead of giving those two data again and again, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna assign this 101 key with its employee ID. Okay, and whenever I wanted to fetch the detail of Srishti, I just gonna fetch the detail from this key as well. Okay, so generally you can see that foreign key is nothing else but a primary key of a different table. When been given, it attach the department table with the employee table. Okay. So let's have a scenario and let's try to understand it better. Let me populate few things. Okay. Then we can create a relation over it. Okay. So let me clear this out. Let me create a table for customers. Okay. Create table customers. Okay. It gonna have an id, okay, which is of type int. Again it gonna be primary key, okay, of auto increment. Okay. Now uh, a customer will having a name varchar. Again, let's say a name can be little lengthy, let it be 80. Okay. uh, Name includes the first name and the last name as well. Okay. Let it be contact number. Okay. It is going to be a string again, so varchar, let it be 12. Okay. With the country code as well. Okay. Let add date of birth as well. Okay. Just to showcase you that if we wanted to hold a date time property, we can use this date time property given by SQL. Okay. Now I'm gonna close this part as well. Okay. Once the table is created, I'm gonna select everything from customers. Okay. Let it be customer ID so that we don't get confused between different IDs. Okay. Let me execute this part. Okay. So the table has been created successfully. Okay. Now let's import some uh, basically values to it. Insert into customer. Oh, my bad. Customers. Okay. Where I just wanted to put the name. Okay. Contact number. Okay. And the date of birth. Make sure कि आपने जो नाम यहाँ दिया है आप use that only. Okay. Else it will give you errors. Okay. Values again like this. थोड़े ज़्यादा से कस्टमर्स बना लेते हैं इन ऑर्डर टू शोकेस डिफरेंट implementation. Okay. Oops. Okay. So the name will be let's say Nikesh Jain. Okay. The contact number, let me leak it. Okay. uh, the date of birth. Okay. So the date of birth, let's say 1984 on the month of 2 24 day. Okay. Let's create another entity. Let it be Mighty Raju. Okay, the contact number of Mighty Raju is this. Okay, the date of birth, let it be something like uh 2004 0609, anything. Okay, a random value. Okay, the next name will be, let's say, Chota Bheem. Okay, the value will be any arbitrary number. Okay, make sure that it doesn't exceed the 12 limit. Let it be 2022 09 17. Okay, anything. Give me more names. Yeah, Darshini, not null. I believe if we give uh, auto increment value to a primary key, the DBMS system will anyhow will give it a value. But it's also a good part that if we define it with the not null property. Okay, cool, cool. Mm, Bruce Wayne, why not? Okay, the number will be something like this. Okay, date of birth 1972 08 20, anything. Okay, one more. mm, uh Rahul Singh, why not? The number will be anything arbitrary. Okay, the date of birth will be something like uh, 24. Okay, cool. So we have just added some values to our database. Let's see. The value has been added. Okay, let me remove it and do select from customers. Okay, cool. Something has been done here. The name, the contact number, the date of birth been added. Okay, and the customer ID has been created. Okay, now the customer is been done with an ID. The menu has been done with an ID. Okay, now let's create a table which gonna hold an foreign key. Okay, so create table, let it call be transactions. Okay, uh, transactions, again will be having a transaction ID. Okay, of type int. Okay, primary key of auto increment. Okay, is it okay? We gonna have the date and the time with the transaction. Okay, let it be transaction. Okay, so we gonna do date time. Okay, of time, date time. Okay, now we gonna have a status, if it is done or not. Okay, we gonna have a amount. Okay, uh, total amount that the bill has been created. Okay, now we gonna have a customer ID. Okay, of type int as well. Okay, which gonna be an foreign key for our this table. Okay, so in order to tell my bad, primary key. Okay. So to tell uh, the table explicitly that this customer ID will be a foreign key. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna write foreign key, okay, of type customer ID. Okay, this customer ID references, okay, the customer ID of customer table. Okay, so I'm gonna write customer, okay, and उसका जो कस्टमर आईडी है इट गोना बी अलाइंड टू दैट. ओके, सो समथिंग लाइक दिस. ओके, सो यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया, यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया, आई हैव क्रिएटेड अ टेबल. ओके, क्रिएटेड few entities. Okay, we are already aware about id कि इसको प्राइमरी दिया. ओके, few items. ओके, इन द लास्ट मैंने इसको इस टेबल में इस कॉलम का नाम कस्टमर आईडी दिया है. ओके, और मैं इसमें भी कुछ आईडीज अपन जनरली होल्ड करेंगे. ओके, विच इज गोना बी the same ID based on the customer that has made the transaction. Okay, so here we have a customer table. Okay, let it be the name here. Okay, मान लो मैंने एक ट्रांजेक्शन किया, my ID is 3, my name is Niket. Okay, now in the table when I'm gonna populate it, यहाँ पे ID automatically create होगी by system. Okay, here it gonna be having amount, date. Okay, और मेरे को इस ट्रांजेक्शन को इस यूजर से अटैच करना है. so I'm gonna give the ID of the customer here. Okay, and the table will be linked like this wise. Okay, ये चीज समझ में आई, how we gonna link the table using the IDs. cool, cool. Okay, so ये मैंने एग्जीक्यूट किया. ओके, लेट अस सिलेक्ट एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम ट्रांजैक्शन. ओके, cool, this is null by default. Okay, so let's insert into transaction. ओके, ट्रांजैक्शन में मैं क्या क्या देना चाहता हूँ, मैं डेट और टाइम देना चाहता हूँ. ओके, स्टेटस देना चाहता हूँ, अमाउंट देना चाहता हूँ, एंड आई वांटेड टू गिव customer ID as well. Okay, now the values will be like this. The only part is that I have to explicitly type it a lot, but no worries. So the ID will be given automatically. Date and time के लिए मैं इस्तेमाल करूँगा now function का. Okay, this is an handy function provided by the DBMS or might be from the SQL only, basically SQL only, which gives us the timestamp of this current time. Okay, if it is 9/9 along with the date. Okay, so here I have taken the time. The status is, let's say, not done. Okay, the amount, let's say 350 rupees. Okay, the customer ID, it's let's say 3. Okay, क्योंकि ये नहीं हुआ है, so we gonna do it again. Now minus interval day are 1. Okay, uh, the status is now 1. Okay, the amount is 350 again, and the customer ID is 3. Okay, why it is giving me error, let me see. I think the syntax was like this only. Hours one. uh Interval day. Okay, so basically what I'm doing, जो आज अभी का टाइम स्टैम्प है उसमें से मैं 1 घंटा मिनिमाइज कर ले रहा हूँ. ओके. Okay, so just to showcase you that key this is also possible, ki if I wanted to do some manipulation over the current timestamp, we can generally do something like this. Okay, so what I wanted to say, current timestamp पे नहीं हुआ, 1 घंटे पहले हो गया था, something like this. Okay, generally order ऊपर नीचे होना चाहिए पर doesn't matter. Okay, so now I will use this handy method, interval of let's say 2 day. Okay, the status is done. The amount was 550 rupees. The customer ID was 2. Okay, now property again, interval of let's say 4 days. Okay, the status is done. The amount is 250 rupees. The customer ID is 1. Okay, now not again, now. Okay, interval of let's say 5 days, 5 hour let's say. Okay, the status is not done. The amount was 75 rupees only, and the customer ID was let's say 3 again. Okay, something like this. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do select dash from transaction. Okay, uh कोई आईडी नहीं है क्या? लेट अस सी.
ट्रांजैक्शन के स्पेलिंग
हियर
Sir, first line.
transaction. Okay, okay, it has been not reflected here. Yeah, yeah, ठीक ठीक ठीक. Okay, cool. So it's been done. Okay, so now you can see the table that we have created now contains the date and time. इसको थोड़ा सा बड़ा करते हैं. You can see today is 31. We have been reflecting the time with the now thing. फिर मैंने उसमें 1 घंटे कम कर दिया तो इट इज शोइंग द टाइम ऑफ 8:15 इंस्टेड ऑफ 9:15. 2 दिन कम कर दिया तो इट इज शोइंग 29. 4 दिन कम कर दिया 27. 5 घंटे कम कर दिया तो it is showing the time of 4:15 p.m. Okay, now we are showing the status, the amount, and the customer ID. Okay, now let's say in future we wanted to see whoever have not been done the payment, in order to call them back and ask for the payment. Okay, but before that I wanted to showcase you a concept called join. Okay, so how many of you are aware about join concept? Cool, cool. Okay, so in lame words, what the joins it says about is that, let's say in this scenario, if you wanted, if you have created a relation based on two tables based on the ID, and now you wanted to see the data of both those tables, so what we do, we generally join them, okay, using a common property, okay, and generally join this table like this wise, okay. So the common element will act as a bridge which will connect the two table, so that you can do some um data manipulation or viewing some data based on this two table, okay. So in our case, what we have done, हमने transactions को join कर दिया है within some customer ID, right? And what we wanted to see, now we wanted to see कौन कौन से कस्टमर्स थे जिन्होंने अभी तक पेमेंट नहीं की है, ओके। सो व्हाट वी वांटेड टू डू, इसमें से हम जीरो टाइप कर लेंगे, ओके। एंड देन वी गोना आल्सो पॉपुलेट द डेटा व्हिच हैज बीन बेस्ड ऑन दिस कस्टमर आईडी, ओके। अब नाउ जॉइंस बहुत टाइप के रहते हैं, लेफ्ट जॉइन, राइट जॉइन, इनर जॉइन, ओके। वी गोना कंसंट्रेट ऑन द इनर जॉइन, okay. Eventually we will learn about the left and right, okay. So what I'm doing, taking a table transaction, okay, which is in the left of mine, okay, and taking the customer table which is in the right of mine, and joining them using the customer id, okay. So how we can do that, let's see, okay. uh uh what was the syntax, maybe, okay, I wanted to select everything from, okay. Now what is the table at the left hand side, let it be transaction table, okay. I wanted to join it in the form of inner join, okay, with the customer table, okay, on the basis of transaction, okay, transaction dot transaction transaction id, oh my bad, transaction id नहीं होगा, it will be customer id, okay, equal to customers dot customer id, okay, something like this, okay. So what I am doing here, मैंने transaction table लिया, कस्टमर्स टेबल लिया, ओके। उसमें कहा कि जो ट्रांजैक्शन टेबल का जो कस्टमर आईडी है, विच इज उसको लो, मैंने कस्टमर टेबल में जो कस्टमर आईडी है विच इज इक्वल टू दोस वैल्यूज, उसका एक टेबल बना दो, ओके। सो लेट्स एग्जीक्यूट इट, एंड नाउ यू कैन सी हमारे पास सारा वो डेटा आ गया विच इज बीन was aligned with this customer id, okay. Let me know, are we clear till here? Cool, cool, okay. Now if I ask someone, can anyone be able to explain me what we have done till here with this just join terminology, join topic only? Apart from Darshini, I wanted to have answer from others ki okay, let me ask Harsh. Harsh, what we have done so far?
Sir, we have studied about SQL, which is a structured query language, which is used for manipulating the data inside the database, which is the relational database. And inside it, we have studied about primary key, which is a type of unique ID for the database, for every element in the database. And we have learned about how to write the queries and other stuff too.
Okay, okay. Though my question was ki, are you clear with the join uh, topic? And did you understand that we are using join to generally join two tables using a common property? Okay. I hope is it clear for everyone. Generally, it can be helpful in your Android projects. Okay. So what we have done so here, I'm selecting everything, saying that uh, take the transaction table, take the customer table, and join them on the base of the common property, which is the customer ID. Okay. Now you can see few things been repeating here. Okay. Let's say I don't want to have uh, I just wanted to have few things. So it will be transaction ID. Okay. It will be uh, date and time. Okay. It it will be status. Okay. It will be amount. Okay. I don't wanted to show the customer ID, I just wanted to show the name. Okay. Contact detail. Okay. And that's pretty much it. Okay. I just wanted to show the data from these things only. Okay. So if I execute, you can see the respective items that was repeating or which was not required, I can generally remove it on the basis of this. Okay. So this is generally how you can join two tables. Okay. This looks particularly straightforward and easy here. Okay. But we once start to implement it using Android, things get little tricky. Okay. With little more data, things get little tricky. Okay. But practicing it, having understanding of it, will help you to write more good relation data. Okay. And eventually you will avoid uh, reusing stuff that is not required. Okay. So you don't want it to keep your data spreaded around the tables. You wanted to organize them as sufficient way as possible. Okay. So, with that said, tomorrow we're gonna learn about SQL and how to implement it in our Android project using Room database. Okay, we're gonna see few things that Room provide us by default and how we can use it. Okay, so that's pretty much it from my end for today's class. I thought to keep it small. Eventually, it exceeded the time. But anyway, I hope you all have at least got the basics concept of SQL, and within few days of practice, you will be able to write SQL queries confidently. But if anyone have any doubt, I am here. You can ask it right away. Acha, there is, I will gonna be writing one dropping one poll. uh, the poll is about that tomorrow you wanted to see me build a whole application from the scratch, or just explain the things that is required related to room database.